guys, how are you? Thank you so much for being here and welcome to another episode on my channel. My channel is what happens when a INFJ T/A. I actually got both results. I'm both an INFJ T and an INFJ A on 16personalities.com. And on my channel, I'm rediscovering myself, the world around me, with a lot of nerdy fun along the way. And I wanted to share with you guys today some of the things that INFJs love. So thank you guys so much for being here, and let's go ahead and get into it. Imagine there is some music in the background. Let's why not do a thing? Done. I need to not get in trouble with YouTube. If you like that, that was Fall by EXO. And if you don't know what EXO is, it's an amazing K-pop group, all male and beautiful to listen to, beautiful to look at. But that's not what this is about. This is about symbology today. This is one of the things that we INFJ people love. And I'm going to be doing another video right after this one. So if you decide, yeah, I'm not really into symbology right now, that's fine, because I'm doing another video right afterwards, so don't even worry about it. So the very first one that we're going to look at is the symbol of the Bing! Pentagram. And I'm going to share with you some of the amazing things that I've recently learned. I already knew a lot about the pentagram because actually I was really into mariner stuff. I was basically into seafaring stories and all that kind of stuff. So it started off with reading Moby Dick, right? But then I was really interested in some of the different terminology used on the ship, and I wanted to learn more about that old seafaring knowledge. And one of the things that I ended up learning about, of course, was the sextant. If you don't know what a sextant is, it's not what it sounds like. It is not a sextant. It means actually six, and then tent meaning points between. Basically, it looks like a cross between a sundial, because it actually is a sundial, and a compass, because it actually is a compass. It's a compass that's ruled not only by the way the light is falling across the top, which would be the sundial element. It's also ruled by the level that you are currently on. So it's really very, very interesting. It's very cool. It's one of many different, very practical, but very beautiful devices they used to use on those old seafaring, on old ships. It's really, really cool. And the thing about a sextant is that actually the very center of it is a compass rose. A compass rose is actually basically more or less a pentagram. So what is a pentagram? Well, originally it was actually called a pentacle, and one of the oldest uses for the pentacle is actually from the Christians, although it predates the Christianity, the birth and death of Jesus Christ. But it was used by many Christians in the beginning as the original symbol for Christianity, meaning the 5 gifts of Jesus through the 5 wounds of Jesus. But before that, the pentacle or the pentagram looked like a 5-pointed star, just tilted a little bit on one side. So not the opposite, where there's 2 points coming up, like what you've seen on a lot of like heavy metal or death punk rock bands, that kind of thing. I did say death, not deaf. Either one really. But instead of it being 2 points like that, it is the single point coming up, but it's just on its side. That was the original pentacle before the circle was placed around it. Circle was placed around it eventually in order to show unity. So each of the points actually stood for the female. Because, and this is a little bit gross, but depending on how you look at it, because both are actually true. In some cultures, each point of the star stood for femininity because it makes a single triangle. A triangle is roughly the shape of a female area. And then connecting with the larger circle meaning the male. But then the opposite can also be true. So in some cultures, the points of the star actually stood for the masculine, and the circle stood for the feminine. But either way, it always means that all are one, all are interconnected. Each one of the star points, if you were to take away these lines right here, and you were to just have the points, each point of the star. In fact, if you were to do this with me, take a piece of paper, and I'll do it with you too. This is my ideas notebook. I always have this with me. If you take, hang on 1 second. Bing, Sharpie. One of the magics of life, being a Sharpie. If you were to take a Sharpie and a piece of paper and draw a pentagram, which I'm drawing for you right now. Start off with a star, and now we're just going to connect each of the points one at a time, one at a time. Now we have a pentagram. If we take away each of those lines, we just leave that circle connecting each line. We have each of the points of origination from each line. Now here's where it gets really, really interesting. See the second symbol that I made? It's also a pentagram. It's getting interesting, right? So each dot actually corresponds to the tips of where each triangle is meeting the half circle shape, but the corresponding places, the dots of origination, also point to the major directions on the compass. Every compass at the very center has a drawing of a pentagram, whether it looks like this or it looks like that, because compasses are actually based off of the pentagrammic shape, and that is for a specific reason. So the original word for the pentagram was pentagamon, and I believe the oldest surfacing of the pentagram is actually from the Greeks, and the reasons why the Grecians almost worshipped the symbol and used the symbol was because of its perfect mathematical fairness or equality, meaning every area and every surface area is the same length from itself to the next point. And don't worry, because in the description of this video, I'm going to put links to some of the different websites that I found that explain it in the most succinct way. But basically, take this for instance. This is an old altar piece of mine. If you were to look and measure the space between this point right here, and this point right here, and this point right there, it would be exactly even from the inside of this triangle to the outer points of that triangle. And the same there, and the same there, and the same there, and the same there, and the same within. There's many different forms and many different versions of the pentagram. And once you start reading about it, you realize that actually the pentagram is everywhere today, because it's actually used on military uniforms, it's used by the police, and it's used in many, many, many flags around the world, because it is also a symbol of unification and therefore of peace. Same way that you might have seen the Hamsa or, what's her name? I'll have to come back with the Hamsa episode. Same way you might have seen the Hamsa, which sometimes the hand is up this way, sometimes the hand is down this way. It's one of the original symbols. Actually, the Hamsa is the oldest symbol on the planet, but it literally means an open hand. There's no weapons, there's nothing inside. It's just an open hand of friendship, receiving and giving as well. The pentagram is really interesting because it also has not only just immense mathematical weight of meaning behind it, but you can actually measure the universe by the pentagram. I know it sounds really, really crazy, but if you were to go and get a star chart to show our place in our universe, you can actually draw a pentagram between the major points from each major point to their corresponding point. And then if you were to find the actual area, the actual, what's the right way to put it? The surrounding border of our universe between our galaxy and the next galaxy, you would actually see makes a perfect circle that connects all of those points. Now, when I say a perfect circle, I mean the same way that this is a perfect circle. It's not an actual perfect, beautiful, gorgeous circle like here, but it makes a connecting, corresponding line between each triangle. And remember, not only is there just these skinnier triangles, there's also the wider triangles in between. And then, of course, there is this shape. And if you don't know the meaning behind this shape, I encourage you to look at it. But don't worry, because again, I have links I'm going to put up in the description of this video as soon as it's done, so you can do your own research. I really suggest that you take a look at it because it's so incredible and amazing. It gives you a whole new perspective on your world, our world, my world, our world that we live in together right now. Right now, in our galaxy, we are literally in this, and you will see it, this empty space right here. We're right in the middle. If you were to look at a compass rose, here's what a compass rose basically looks like. You take an X, like so. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then you make a line straight through the middle. I'll make it a little bit longer just so it's easier to see. That, by the way, is the original drawing of a star. In the olden days, they didn't consider this or this to be a star. But anyways, take those lines and you draw a line through it, which I'm doing right now, and I'm gonna bring it up. See that? Well, if you do that, you have the major points on the compass. But if you were to erase those lines and connect them by creating different types of triangles, what would you have? Can you guess? Well, obviously you can guess. So I'm going to do it right here again so you can see it one over the other. Oh, it's coming out a lot neater this time, thank goodness. Okay. One, there's a half line up. Two, and a cross. There's one pentagram. There's a second pentagram that's actually inversed. And why is that important? Well, that's important because when you take a pentagram and you layer it over another pentagram, you have all of the major directions. And frankly, it's really freaking awesome. It's very, very cool. But there's so many different meanings behind the pentagram, and one of those, because of the main meaning, the main reason behind it being total equality from one line to the next line, holding a space within each space that literally corresponds to the opposite space, meaning equal and opposite space, as without, so within, literally within each space here, well, especially when it's drawn well, you can actually see, right? You could fit one area within the other area. So the ancient Grecians saw that, and they saw the corresponding math behind it, and they saw that as meaning equality as well. And within the equality, there was this corresponding nature of inclusiveness, meaning all was connected. So, as you already know, the Grecians were just a little bit fond of star charts, and they actually created the corresponding lines on the most ancient star chart that we have. Well, maybe the Chinese a little bit before then. And they showed our place in our galaxy. And the picture they came up with in order to show where we were in correlation to our planets, our solar system, is actually this one right here. But then if you were to connect the lines, you would have this. When's the last time you saw a police officer? If you ever see a police officer again, or the next time you do, make sure you take a look at their badge. Their badge is a pentagram. Why is that? Well, historically speaking, they wanted to wear something, or rather government wanted to show the power behind the establishment. So, you know, police officers, knights, they were the hand reaching out from the establishment and showing their power extending from government. So showing the government was holding everything together, and the extreme power of the government and its place in the world of that local constabulary, in the world of that local town or hamlet or country or whatever. The point was they were all one, and the thing that was connecting all of them was the power of the crown, whichever crown in question. So they had this symbol on the front of all knights throughout Europe. It doesn't matter what time period you look at. As long as there were knights, they were wearing the pentagram. Many different forms of the pentagram, but they were always wearing the pentagram. And if you disagree, I'd love to hear you say something. Go ahead and put something in the comments. I always read them. I always get back to my comments. I love comments. But anyways, they did this to actually protect the knights because it was seen as a protective symbol. It was also seen as a symbol of faith in equality, or faith in all of the universe being connected. It was sort of like how the cross is used by many Christians today. And in fact, many religions of the time, we're talking 14th, 15th, and before centuries, used the pentagram as a show of faith. So now, most of the time, when you say pentagram or pentagon or pentacle, you assume that we must be talking about Wiccans, but that's not strictly true. Wiccans don't own the pentagram. Nobody owns the pentagram because it's the shape of our universe. It's where we're sitting right now. So nobody owns that shape to different groups today, meaning they've been kind of changed. The meaning of this pentagram now is used to symbolize typically Wicca or other types of pagan religions, or neo-pagan, however you want to put it, religions that usually center on a spiritual connection to nature. That is also in the pentagram. Each point also correlates to a star or a planet, and we're just in the center. So I encourage you to do the research, because I've actually already done the research for you, and you can just click on the links and see it for yourself. And if you have any corrections or something that you think you can say better, I would love to hear it, because I love the conversation. I love the discourse. We're all in this together, and I'd love to hear back from you guys. And anyways, I hope that you enjoyed that. That's really just it's just a sneak peek into the meaning behind the pentagram. And in case you want to learn any more, please let me know. I will also say this. You'll see in the descriptives and the links that I'm putting below in the description of this video that each of those 5 points were said to correlate to different elements: earth, fire, water, air, and spirit, that kind of thing. But they can also correlate back to specific planets. But the length of them, when actually put over a star chart for our galaxy, actually shows where we sit in our galaxy. And basically, usually in olden days, there would actually be an X in the middle, which is said that, or rather a plus sign. Anyways, what we would see today as a plus sign, they actually saw as a very religious symbol in the old days. It was used by I believe it was used by the Knights Templar. I know it was used by some of the oldest of Christian groups in the beginning, before the arms were lengthened, or rather before the stake length was lengthened and the arms were shortened in order to show, make a symbol of the cross, as in what Jesus hung on. Originally, the shape that all of the oldest Christians in all of time used looked more like our plus sign. And in the very center of most compasses, from the most ancient of compasses, there was always what looked like a plus sign right in the middle. And if you do a little bit of research, you'll see that the Knights Templar still use that. But there are many different groups, ancient groups, that are still surviving today that are still using that sign. And when they use that sign, it's with an understanding that the pentagram actually fits around it. So when they look at this sign, it looks a little bit like sign. I show you here. When they look at this sign, what they actually see this sign right here. It's pretty interesting. But that's just one of those things that INFJs love. We love symbology, we love history, we love a good Easter egg hunt. We love a mystery, and we love solving it, and we love understanding our world a little bit better. And just learning about that one symbol leads you into so many different directions, including, propaganda with, how the crown used to always have a pentagram on their knight's clothes. That's propaganda to show how their power unites everyone throughout the kingdom, and how they're literally surrounding the kingdom as a circle. Each one of the smaller hamlets fit within the larger circle, or within the sphere of power reigning over them from the kingdom. That is propaganda. But it's also a little bit of spiritualness, right? Because it was worn as a shield, which is why it was always in silver, because silver corresponds supposedly to love and to family or familial strength. And the township was seen almost like a tribe or like a family, which makes sense. A lot of times all the blood ties would be connected. But anyways, the point is, it's really, really interesting, and it brings you so many different interesting ancient places. And I hope that you enjoyed learning about the pentagram today, and I'm going to come back very soon with a little bit more info on some other very special, very ancient, very interesting things, and other things that INFJs love. See you soon. Bye. Oh, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe and the bell notification in the bottom right if you liked it or you'd like to subscribe. I'll be here, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.